What's going on, football fans? This is RJ from Game News USA, back today with another NFL recap, Week 11. And boy, oh boy, did we get some exciting games and some exciting finishes and interesting results, to say the least. So, if you like this content, please remember to like and subscribe. Let's jump right into it. First of all, the Giants, Cardinals, Bucks, and Panthers were all on a bye. They're not really that missed. We'll put it that way. Thursday Night Football had a big showdown between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders for first in the NFC East. And Philadelphia won 26-18. The game wasn't even that close. The score had some garbage time thrown in at the end of it. But the Eagles are really hitting their stride now, and they're a serious contender in the NFC. Washington, they're still young. I still think they'll make the playoffs. It may be as a wild card, but they are an exciting team. They just ran into a buzzsaw. And now we go to the Sunday games, the early window of games. The Green Bay Packers were able to defeat the Chicago Bears 20-19 thanks to a blocked field goal. Caleb Williams, there's been calls for maybe him to get benched, and I completely think that would be complete bullshit and stupid fuckery if they were, but they didn't, and Caleb Williams put them in position to win that game. And despite that, the kick was blocked. It happens. We saw that happen to Bo Nix versus the Chiefs the previous week. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions putting an absolute fucking ass whooping on the Jacksonville Jaguars, 52-6. The Lions acted like someone beat their mama, and then they went to their house and beat their mama, because the Lions, 52-6, and this is not the first time we've seen the Lions open up a can of whoop ass. They've been doing it all year long. They acted like they lost last week versus Houston when they won. They were just on fire. Jacksonville was a sorry sack excuse of a franchise on Sunday. Jared Goff, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Lions are rolling. And then next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings defeating the Tennessee Titans 23-13. The Vikings started off the season really hot. They kind of cooled off a little bit, but they took care of business on the road against a team they should beat. And they won the game 23-13. Titans, it's a lost year for them. Vikings, they're fighting. They're fighting, trying to stay in that division race. But they're most likely going to end up being a wild card, and we'll see what they do. Next up, we have the Dolphins, who have been a little bit red hot with Tua on offense, rolling with the 34-19 win over the sorry Las Vegas Raiders. Glad to see Tua back. They're trying to make a push to the playoffs. It's an uphill battle, but they were able to pull off the win. Then we have my Patriots lost to the Rams, 28-22. They were competitive, but the Rams were the better team that day, and were able to get the win. Then next up, we have the Saints molly-whopping the Cleveland Browns 35-14. What the hell happened to Taysom Hill? He just went off with 3 touchdowns and 138 rushing yards. Jameis Winston even threw up 395 yards, but it was all garbage time against his former team as the Browns fall even further back in the standings. Next up, we have the Colts and Jets. This game was kicked off Sunday Night Football, and moved to an early window. And it was actually a good game. The Colts were able to win 28-27. I love seeing when the Jets lose, me being a Patriots fan, seeing them go through their pain of Aaron Rodgers sucking ass and the Jets still being a Class F organization. The Colts also fighting for a wild card spot, also trying to stay in their division. Good thing they brought Anthony Richardson back in and didn't rely on old-ass Joe Flacco anymore. And then next up, we had the biggest game from the early window. The Pittsburgh Steelers are for real, people. They beat the Baltimore Ravens 18-16. The Ravens are this really scary team that sometimes still loses. They do. They sometimes still lose. You look at them and go, how can anybody beat this team? But they find a way to lose sometimes. And the Steelers get a huge victory right here over the Ravens, taking control of that AFC North division. Russell Wilson still cooking. And now we move on to the later window of games. The Atlanta Falcons just didn't show up. They went to Denver, and Denver whooped their ass 38-6. Bo Nix, over 300 yards passing and like 4 touchdowns. He's went off. He has the most touchdown passes of all the rookies, believe it or not. Did you know that? The most touchdowns of any rookie on offense this year. The Broncos were pissed off after the way they lost to the Chiefs the previous week. And they got a good win against what's supposed to be a good Falcons team that's going to make the playoffs. Denver fighting for playoff spots. Then next up, we had the Seahawks defeating the 49ers 20-17. This game pissed me off. How do you let Geno Smith waltz in the end zone? That's not a Michael Vick. That's not a Lamar Jackson. That's Geno fucking Smith walking in the end zone with 12 seconds left. What is wrong with the 49ers? Super Bowl hangover much? The whole NFC West is around 500. None of these teams will make a wild card probably. So it's going to still be one of the tightest, most awesome division races the rest of the year. They're all even. The Cardinals are 6-4, and the Rams, Seahawks, and Niners are all 5-5, and they've all beaten each other. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fun to watch. And then next up, we had the biggest game of the day. The Buffalo Bills were finally able to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. Down go the champs. Down go the champs. Buffalo had a 4th and 2, and instead of kicking the field goal, they said to hell with it. Give Josh Allen the damn ball and get the fuck out of the way. He ran all the way to the end zone, and the Bills were able to win the game 30-21 to be in the hunt still for that 1 seed, that all-precious, all-important 1 seed, first round bye, home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The Bills are right on the Chiefs' ass for it now. And the Chiefs' streak of 15 straight wins thankfully, finally comes to an end. And we got some competitive juices flowing in the AFC once again. When you've been living on the edge like the Chiefs, barely winning games against teams you're better than, barely winning games against teams that should have won instead of you, eventually, that fucking stove is gonna burn you. And they got burned. The defense couldn't carry Mahomes enough that game. I've said too much. We know he's having a bad year. Okay, Mahomes is having a bad year. I'm going to leave it at that. When it comes to the Chiefs and Mahomes slander, I know some of y'all don't like it. He needs to play better. Stop turning the ball over. Anyway, speaking about playing better, the Cincinnati Bengals are now 4-7. They lost to the Chargers 34-27 on Sunday Night Football. They were down 27-6. Joe Burrow did everything he could to get the team back into it. But at the end of the day, the Chargers were able to win. The Bengals defense is so fucking bad. And they're wasting a prime year of Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. Oh, it's so bad that this team is 4-7. They feel like they should be so much better than this. They're the opposite of the Chiefs. They're losing games they should win. What's going to happen to the Bengals? They have to run the table now, or they're not going to make the playoffs, basically. And they're not going to run the table. So, the Bengals are cooked. They need to hire Bill Belichick. The Chargers, on the other hand, they got the right coach for the right job. The Chargers, at 7-3, are just 2 games behind the Chiefs in the AFC West. Harbaugh has revitalized this team, taught them how to win, gave them toughness and physicality. He let Justin Herbert believe in himself. And this team may be a year off from having the pieces it needs, possibly. But it, for fuck's sake, for fuck's sure, has the coach it needs in Harbaugh. And the Chargers were able to win. And they didn't charge her up that game. But speaking of embarrassing, the Dallas Cowboys got their ass whooped again at home. The Texans won 34-10. This game was competitive in the first half, but then it got away from them. The Cowboys, I hope you realize, guys, at one point the Cowboys had won like 16 straight home games. And since that Packers playoff game, they're now like 0-6 at home. Losing by an average of over 22 points a game. It is disgusting if you are a Cowboys fan. I am disgusted I have to see them on my fucking TV in national TV spots. They get to play the Giants on Thanksgiving on national TV. It makes me not even want to fucking watch football that day. Disgusting. Cowboys need to get flexed out of all TV games for the rest of the year. They're a disgrace. They might be more of a disgrace than the Jets, the Raiders, the Panthers, you name it. They're right there with them and the Giants as well. Hell, the Giants will probably come in and whoop their ass too if they don't end their streak of losing at home. Meanwhile, the Texans get it right. They're righting the ship. They're trying to win a division and they're going to try to make noise in the playoffs. And we'll see what they have to say about it when it comes to the chase for the Lombardi. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked NFL Week 11 recap. Thank you all for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Much appreciated. Peace. I'm out. Have a good one.